Hello everyone, welcome to Keats Auto and Truck Repair. Today we have a 2006 Toyota Corolla with a 1.8 liter engine. This vehicle came from one of our subscribers. His name is Peter. Peter reached out to me about his car. He drove from Columbia, Maryland, which is about, I believe, 40 minutes from here. So the complaint on this vehicle is the check engine light remains on the dash, and there's a code in the engine computer. The owner of this vehicle seems very knowledgeable about his vehicle. He actually watches the videos, so he told me that there is a code in the engine computer. The code is P0171, so there's a lean code. He cleaned the mass airflow sensor. He also replaced the air filter, but the code is still in the engine computer. So at that point, he decided to reach out so he can come, so he can bring the vehicle to us. Now, before we diagnose this vehicle, I want to give a shout out to our cameraman Kyler. Thanks for being here. Before we go in the vehicle, let me go get Robin, who is behind us. He's working on the truck back here. I'm gonna need Robin to rev up the engine for us so we can figure out if we have a vacuum leak or maybe we have a fuel delivery problem. So let's go see what Robin is up to. Robin!
Yes, sir.
Let's see. Are you sleeping or working?
I'm working.
Okay, so we're working on this truck. This truck was told to us by another subscriber. It's a diesel engine. It doesn't start. I was told that they lifted the cab, but now it doesn't start. So what do you think, Robin? What did you find?
A bunch of engine codes in here and battery-related codes.
Okay.
So I'm gonna crank it.
So it cranks.
It cranks.
It sounds good though.
Yep.
Okay. Crank it again. It's kind of trying to start.
Yes, it is. It's like if I do a clear flood.
Okay.
It will like.
We might have to spray some starting fluid to see if it's gonna start. If it starts, then we probably have a fuel delivery problem. But before we do this, can you give me a hand on this Corolla?
All right, no problem.
Please? Okay, thank you. Let's walk back to this Corolla here. We're gonna try to knock this out really fast. So I'm going to pop the hood.
All right, I got it.
Okay, let's see what we got. So we have,
Do you have
fixed. Is the key there?
No, it's not.
No? Okay, hold on. I think I left it in the shop. All right, guys. So we have fixed lean codes here multiple times. So I'm gonna try to cruise through this because we have a couple projects we gotta get to. So a lean code is usually caused by a vacuum leak or a low fuel pressure problem. If we have a fuel pump that's failing, that's going to cause a lean code, or we could also have a defective mass airflow sensor that can also cause a lean code, or we could have partially clogged fuel injectors that can cause a lean codes too. So we need to figure out what's happening. Now the way I like to go about this is I like to look at fuel trim numbers. I am going to go in the engine computer. So cameraman Kyler will put this up so you guys can see what I'm looking at. I'm gonna look at the code first, and then we're gonna look at some fuel trim numbers, and then Robin is gonna start the engine and increase the engine RPMs for us to see if our fuel trim numbers will get better as we increase the engine RPMs. And then the other thing I want to mention is a bad O2 sensor can also cause lean codes to be set in the engine computer. So the scan tool has identified the vehicle. We're gonna click OK. Let's do a code scan. So right there, the scan tool is communicating with the engine computer. We have one code in the engine computer, P0171, fuel system 2 lean bank 1. So this is the code that the customer told me about. So pretty straightforward. We're very familiar with this code. So let's scroll down and see what else we have. Okay, so that's the only code we have. So now let's go in the engine computer. Let's go to data. Okay, so I'm gonna customize this list. We're just gonna look at a couple of data PIDs. Engine speed, long-term and short-term fuel trim, engine temperature, O2 sensor, data PIDs, and that's it. Okay. Can you go ahead and start the engine?
Okay.
I heard that little long crank. I don't know if the mic picked it up. So right now our fuel trim numbers look okay. We have 2.31% on the short term, and then we have 6.22 on the long term. So right now our total trim, I mean, it's a little high. So our short term is going high. So right now our short term is 8.56%, and then long term is 6.22. So if you add these two together, we have about 15 or 14%. Yeah, look at our short term. Short term is a little high. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so can you rev up the engine to like 3,000 RPMs? Yeah, hold it there. Yeah, so at higher RPMs, our short term is 6.22. It's going between 6.22 and 7%, and then long term is 12. It's going between 12 and 10. So total trim at higher RPMs is about 16%. Let off. Okay. Now, based on these numbers, I don't think we have a vacuum leak, because if we had a vacuum leak, we were gonna have high positive numbers at idle. Right now, our numbers at idle seem fine, although they're slightly on the high side of things, but they're pretty fine. Okay, so now let's check the O2 sensors. Let's make sure the O2 sensors are working. So I'm gonna graph the O2 sensors. So Robin, can you pump the brakes for me? So as Robin is pumping the brakes, we wanna see these O2 sensors go lean. Yeah, keep pumping. Oh yeah, actually you can even hear the engine RPM drop. Okay, so we're driving the engine lean by pumping the brakes. Okay, let off. So now our O2 sensors should go reach. Yeah, right there. So our O2 sensors are reacting to the oxygen content in the exhaust system. So that's good. Turn it off.
Turn it off?
Yeah.
Okay.
So based on these results,
Key on?
yeah, keep the key on. No, you can turn the key off. Yeah, we're done. Yeah, we're done.
Okay.
So based on these results, the next test I want to do is I want to check fuel pressure, because our fuel trim numbers were a little bit high at higher RPMs. So let's get a fuel pressure connected to the fuel system and see what we got. We have our pressure gauge connected to the fuel system. So now we're gonna start the engine to see what kind of fuel pressure we have, at the engine. So our fuel pressure should be between 44 PSI and 50 PSI. So Robin is gonna start the engine for us. So go ahead and start it. Oh.
Keep going?
Actually, when you were cranking, the gauge took a while to go up. So that's not a good sign. Go ahead, crank it. Rev it.
Keep it. Is that good?
Okay, let off. Now, the gauge probably took a little while because the system was empty. But, okay, turn it off.
Turn off.
Okay, there's a little bit of a bleed there. Start it again. So we're holding pressure at about 46 psi. That's not bad. So based on the results we have, fuel pressure is not our problem. Turn it off. Start it again. Okay, turn it off. All right, hold on. Let me check one more thing. Let me grab my scan tool. I didn't look at the freeze frame. I want to see when this code set. Did it set at idle or while the vehicle was being driven? Because we might have to go drive it. If the code set at high RPMs, so we might have to drive it to duplicate the fault. So current codes, so we have that same code. Let's go on the generic side of the scan tool so we can look at freeze frame. Interesting. So fuel pressure seems fine. Now the owner told me that the light, the check engine light only comes on when it's cold. So whatever that's happening could be affected by the outside temperature, because he told me he noticed it only when it's cold, mostly in the winter, but unfortunately it's not the winter anymore. So it may be a little bit difficult for us to duplicate this. So let's go to freeze frame. So I'm going to look at engine temperature. When this code set, engine speed, vehicle speed, and fuel trim numbers. So when this code set, engine speed was 682. It was in closed loop. Short-term fuel trim, bank 1 was 6.3. And then long-term was 32.8. Okay, this is good to know. Vehicle speed was 0. And then engine temperature was 176 degrees. So this code was set at idle. The engine was stationary. I mean, the vehicle was stationary. It wasn't moving, but we had high positive long term. What do you think, Robin? Yeah, come take a look.
Positive.
So our engine speed was 682.
Okay.
It was in closed loop. Mass airflow sensor was 2.04 grams, so which is good at idle.
Right.
But long term was high. Yeah.
Where are you checking that?
So this, I mean, with these numbers, knowing that it happened at idle, we could have a pump that's failing, or we could have injectors that were not spraying the correct amount of fuel in the cylinders. So let's check out the code one more time, and then we're going to start it and observe our numbers here at idle. Because I don't see anything crazy right now.
With the mileage of the car, you think is
You never know. Never know you never know what you find. This is how we make these videos. It's like we're filming live. And we never know. We're gonna tell you guys this. I don't know if cameraman Kyler is gonna keep this or not. We were trying to make this video short, but I guess it's not gonna end up being a short video.
Never be an easy one.
Yeah, it's something. We were trying to go through this really fast, but I mean, How's our plan working out, Kyler? It's not working out.
So it's down.
Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs down. Oh man.
So with
Okay, so let's start it one more time. Can you go ahead and start it, please?
that
Okay.
right
So
there.
engine is running. We are in open loop. So we're gonna watch the scan tool, and we're also gonna watch our pressure gauge here. Cameraman Kyler, if you can just focus on the gauge, you can put the scan tool up later. So our fuel pressure is fine. So right now at idle, our short-term fuel trim bank 1, we have 7.0%, and then long-term we have 6.03%. So our numbers look good right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you do?
Because you have that hesitation between to start it. It's like it's not getting enough gas right there to have that slow, like a little bit slow cranking.
Yeah.
Almost a long crank timing before you start.
Yeah, when you you can hear there's a little delay.
Yeah.
But is that enough to condemn a pump? What would you condemn here? Would you condemn a pump?
No. I
Or
think
injectors?
More testing. A little bit more testing.
This is odd. Can you rev it?
Sure.
Rev it up to like 3,000.
Flat rev or gradually?
Yeah, just go all the way up to like
Okay.
3,000 RPMs. Hold it up at like 3,000. Yeah, as we're revving it, look at the gauge. I mean, we're definitely within spec. Kyle is laughing at me. I don't know, like, there's no problem. Like, it's, although our fuel trim numbers are a little high, on the long term, we have 14.1% right now. All right. All right. I mean, we gotta pick a direction and go. This is definitely not a vacuum leak. I mean, we can put a smoke machine on this one just to double check, but I don't think we have a vacuum leak. All right, Robin.
Yes.
All right, you can turn it off. Okay. So you guys will see the data on the scan tool. It doesn't have a vacuum leak. Our fuel trim numbers are fine. This code set at idle. It's not acting up right now. Now, I was told it does it when it's cold. It's not cold today. So, based on the numbers that I saw, since our fuel trim got high at idle, so the long-term number was high at idle. The other thing I can think about is maybe maybe an intake manifold gasket that's expanding. You know, maybe when it's cold, it contracts and then leaks out. And then when the engine warms up, that gasket expands and then it seals. You know,
That makes sense.
Robin is like shaking his head. That's
That
the only
makes
thing
sense.
I can think about.
Yes.
Because I've seen intake manifold gaskets leak when it's cold.
Yes.
And then when the outside temperature is warm like today, or the engine warms up, the gasket expands, then it seals, then it stops leaking.
Yep.
Because right now our fuel pressure is good. Now, should we just do a smoke test just to see
Yes.
before we tell the customer?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Do you want to bring out the smoke machine?
Yes,
Let's bring out, so we're going to get the smoke machine set up. We're going to connect it to the intake manifold, and then we'll bring you guys back up. So we have our smoke machine out. I'm going to turn on the smoke machine. So right here, as you can see, the smoke machine is on. So we should see smoke coming out of this tube. So right here. Now we blocked the inlet tube that goes to the air filter box. We're gonna connect our smoke machine tube to this tube that goes to the purge valve. So this tube is connected to the intake manifold. So I'm gonna connect this over here. So all this smoke is gonna go into the intake manifold. So if there is a leak around the intake manifold, we're gonna see it, and wherever smoke comes out of will be where the leak is. Now, I don't know if you can see, there is it's kind of wet around the intake manifold here. There's a little bit of oil there. That can be due to a leaking valve cover gasket. So let's wait. Actually, watch this. Our check ball is dropping already. So which means we don't have a leak. So let's open this. Let's see if we have smoke here. All right. I just want to make sure. So I'm opening this cap just to make sure that we have smoke going through the intake and through this PCV tube inside the crankcase and up towards the valve cover. So that's good. We have enough smoke flowing through the intake manifold and through the engine. So let's close this and see. I don't see a leak.
Check this dipstick.
Yeah. Same thing?
Yeah, it got pressure.
Okay. So what do you think? So guys, what do you think? What would you do? How would you go about this? Fuel pressure is fine. We don't have a leak.
We can look down here. There's some oil down here.
There's oil over there?
Yeah.
Okay.
On the intake.
All right, so I guess the valve cover gasket is leaking then. So what is it? Is it fuel injectors? Is it fuel pump? I don't know. Guys, let us know in the comment section. Although we were trying to make this video short, it's not gonna be short. But this is an interesting one. I mean, these are one of the projects that, you know, makes you think, that makes you, that makes your diagnostic skills remain sharp. So,
yeah.
How would you go about this, Robin? What would you do at this point?
I have to get more details from the customer.
Okay.
So we have a dialogue with the customer and see what he has done or what the issues been causing, he been having.
Because the customer told me that he cleaned the mass airflow sensor and he replaced the air filter. Let me check it. Yeah, actually here, air filter is new. So the air filter was replaced. Okay. But remember, this code set at idle. Our freeze frame data showed us that the code was set at idle. Engine temperature was 170 something.
Right.
And then we had high positive numbers on the long term.
The only pet peeve, if it's at idle, then we have a leak somewhere then?
Yeah. So if it's set at idle, then the issue could possibly be a vacuum leak, but we don't have a vacuum leak here. We have good fuel pressure.
Is it like it's sealing when it's because the engine been warm now? It's sealed?
That's possible, yeah. That's what I need, yeah. So I need to talk to the customer, because right now, what do? Do we spend more hours trying to figure this out? What else can we do? I mean, I'm sure if we do the other test we could do, we could do an injector, a flow test for the injectors, or injector drop test. I think that's how they call it. So it's a test where, since we have the gauge connected to the fuel system, we're gonna turn each injector to see how low the fuel gauge will drop. Injector flow test. To see if we have partially clogged injectors. But if that was the case, our fuel trim numbers would be a lot worse at idle. But right now, the numbers are fine. So we don't have clogged injectors or partially clogged injectors. Because when you have partially clogged injectors, your fuel trim numbers will be high positive at idle. As soon as you start the engine and it goes into closed loop, your numbers will get worse. So I am gonna talk to the customer. The customer is here. He's in the waiting area. I'm gonna tell him that we're filming this. I'll ask him. I'm gonna bring him in the shop so we can show him what we did. I'll ask him if he's comfortable being on camera. If he is comfortable, we're gonna talk about it on camera, and then we'll figure out what we're gonna do.
Yes.
Okay? So
idea.
let me go talk to the customer. I'll be back. All right, guys. So this is Peter.
Hello.
Peter is with us here in the shop. Peter, once again, first, thank you for bringing business to us.
My pleasure.
It's
good to see you online and watch your videos. It actually led me to your shop today.
Awesome. Thank you. Did you subscribe to the channel?
I believe I did.
Okay, very good. So like I said at the beginning of the video, Peter watched our videos and then he decided to bring his vehicle to the shop. So thank you. Now, we did a diagnosis. We're almost done. But what I wanted to tell you is I'm glad because you said yes to have this conversation on camera, because I want our viewers here to see how we're going to go about this. So the first test we did was I looked at fuel trim numbers. I'm sure you probably saw me do that in the video. I looked at fuel trim numbers. The fuel trim numbers are fine. I didn't see anything that was kind of out of whack. Everything looked fine. And then I saw your long-term numbers were slightly higher at high RPMs, which led me towards checking fuel pressure. We checked fuel pressure is fine.
Okay.
So the specification is between 44 and 50 PSI. And right now when the engine is running, it's between 48 and 50 PSI, so which is within spec. So I cannot say the fuel pump is failing or it's bad. Now, that leaves me with maybe partially clogged injectors, maybe a lean code, maybe a vacuum leak. But then the other thing I did, I looked at freeze frame to see when the code set exactly, to see what data the engine computer was receiving when the code set. So this code set at idle, and the engine temperature was about 170, and our fuel trim numbers, the short term was I think 4%, 4 or 5%, and then the long term was high. It was like 32%. So, and then I remember you told me that this code was setting when the outside temperature was cold,
Yep.
right? During cold temperatures. So we looked at fuel trim numbers. Everything is fine. We even smoked it. We smoked the intake manifold. We can turn the smoke machine again just so you can see. We don't see a leak. It's not leaking. Now, based on the data that I saw on the freeze frame, the data is telling me that there is most likely a vacuum leak, because we have high positive numbers on the long term. When the engine was at idle, the vehicle speed was 0, so you weren't driving, you were sitting still, and that's when the code set. So the only thing I can think about is, knowing that you told me it only set when it's cold, probably it could. I've seen intake manifold gaskets fail and leak when it's cold,
Right.
but then when the engine warms up and the outside temperature is hot, the gasket expands and then it stops leaking. Because right now we can't find a leak and everything is fine. So if your fuel pressure, or it could be a failing pump, but usually when you have a failing pump, you'll see your fuel trim numbers be high even at idle or even at high RPMs, which we're not seeing. So the only thing I can think about right now is, I would say probably, because I'm not sure, it's not leaking right now, probably a leaking intake manifold gasket, which is expanding and contracting due to temperature,
Right.
but everything else looks fine.
Okay.
So
That's good to know. I had tried spraying some carb cleaner in it when the engine was cold one morning last week.
yeah,
And nothing happened in
No.
terms of the RPM increasing or anything like that.
Yeah.
That was the coldest weather we've had like in the last 2 weeks.
yeah.
Unfortunately, the day that this happened, I'd have to go back and check what day of the week it was.
Yeah. So let me grab the scan tool. I'm just gonna show you the data.
Okay.
Everybody saw this already, but let me. I will.
This is so amazing.
Oh, really?
I mean,
Thank you.
I have to say, when I looked up the price of one of these online,
Oh, you did?
I was
Can we
like,
make sure the key's on, please, Robin?
Sure.
seriously impressed at the investment that you have in the equipment. I mean, this is a very expensive piece of
It is.
But
It
also,
is.
it covers all cars, which
All
is really
cars,
cool.
yes. Thank you. And then the other thing I liked about you is that when I was talking to Peter earlier, like I could tell you're very knowledgeable about cars and you watch the videos, which I like because it makes it easy to like explain the stuff we do to someone like yourself that really you kind of understands what we're doing. You know, it's really cool. So thank you for showing interest in, what we do.
Is fascinating. And this car is still, in the grand scheme of things, this is still primitive at 2006.
Yeah.
In terms of the engine diagnostics and capability, but it's still pretty phenomenal.
It's still, yeah, and it sounds good actually. It sounds really good. So I'm gonna show you what we were looking at.
Okay.
It's gonna communicate here. So we are on the generic side, and I'm gonna show you the freeze frame. So freeze frame is basically kind of a snapshot, a picture that the computer takes of all the data on the engine management when the code's set. So when your code's set, this is what the engine computer, all the data that the engine computer captured. Okay, so here's your code, P0171. So it's set on closed loop. So you were in closed loop.
Yep.
Engine RPM was 682.
Okay.
And then your short term was 6.3. Look at long term.
Oh, long term's way up there. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
way out of your 10%
Yeah,
margin.
yeah. So 32.8.
Okay.
Now, engine temperature was 176. So this tells me it's set while the engine was hot. And I'm like, okay. So if it's set while the engine was, if the temperature was cold, I was gonna say, okay, maybe it's expanding. But the engine was hot.
Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting, it's not doing it right now.
Right.
Now, since the key is on, so let's look at fuel pressure. So, okay, let's, hold on.
You gotta move that.
We gotta reconnect this. Yeah, so this is, so let me turn on the smoke machine first, just so we can show you this part. So the smoke machine is on, and we smoked the entire,
Okay.
okay. So we smoked the entire intake manifold, no leaks anywhere. Now, as I'm thinking more about the freeze frame, this code set at engine operating temperature. So I guess that's kind of eliminates the theory of the intake manifold expanding because the engine was warm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know what you mean? So it's like,
I just, the only thing is, I see like small leakages happening
yeah,
around the manifold area.
Yeah,
and stuff.
so that's, we were talking about it earlier, valve cover,
The valve cover gasket was recently replaced.
Was recently replaced? Okay.
Like not even 1,000 miles ago.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Maybe they just didn't clean.
Residual.
Yeah,
stuff,
residual oil. Okay. That's good to know. So we opened this just to make sure
See
we
if any
have
smoke's coming
yeah.
through. Yeah.
So right there. So we have smoke going through the
Right.
intake manifold and into the crankcase.
Yep.
So that's good there.
The only other thing I noticed based on your videos was that I tried pumping the brakes when I was sitting at idle. When
Yeah.
I first started the engine, it was cold.
Yeah.
And at most it went up like 1,500 RPM from a baseline of like 700.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's
No, that's good.
relevant or not.
We just did it earlier.
Yeah, we did it
We
too.
do that to check O2 sensor. So when you pump the brakes, you create a lean. You force the engine to go lean. And then we do that to look at the O2 sensor data to see how fast the O2 sensor will react to the extra oxygen in the exhaust stream.
Okay.
So if they respond fast enough, then you know your O2 sensors are good. We just did that, and your O2 sensors are fine.
Okay, great. Yeah, the other thing I was looking at the list of things I had seen in one of the videos was possible brake booster and stuff, having a vacuum
A
leak or
vacuum
something
leak
like
there,
that.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
nothing crazy happened like the video described, so I was like, it's probably not that.
It's probably not that, yeah.
Yeah.
Because and if let's say if you had a leaking brake booster, you would have high positive numbers at idle on the long term.
Okay.
Which we don't have because right now, okay, we're gonna disconnect.
It had it that day, but not now.
Not now, yes.
Yeah, which is like, what the heck?
I know, yes.
Please,
It is.
please be consistent, you know?
Yeah, it happened that day that now. Okay, so let's turn this off, Robin.
Okay. Yeah.
If you can go ahead, let's just get rid of the smoke machine, and then we're gonna reconnect this stuff. Let's leave the pressure gauge connected, and then we're gonna So this is kind of I was saying off camera. I was telling we can continue filming. I was telling Robin and Kyler earlier. This is kind of one of the issues where it seems like it's intermittent, and intermittent issues can be the toughest ones to diagnose because 95% of the time when we actually do the test, everything is fine.
Yes.
And I don't feel comfortable just replacing parts without knowing exactly that's what it needs. We looked at your mass airflow sensor data, everything looked fine. Fuel pressure, everything. So at this point, I was asking Robin, what should we do? Intake manifold gasket, fuel pump. I don't feel comfortable replacing the fuel pump because pressure is all right.
Yep.
So
and that's a pricey thing to do.
It is,
right?
yeah.
So that would be the last of the things I would do before
yes,
anything else.
yeah. So I don't know what to tell you, Peter.
That's okay. Well, unless I was to drive up to Alaska or Minnesota right now for some cold weather and somebody there with a diagnostic machine, we're kind of at an impasse here in terms of troubleshooting it completely.
Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah.
Which is, that's what life is sometimes. I appreciate the difficulty of this. This is hard work.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the price of the part, the intake manifold's inexpensive, although it costs more to break it apart.
To break it apart, yeah.
And then the worst part is I've got old stuff that's rusty here, and I looked at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like if something breaks, it's like then all the money will be spent trying to repair
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, because I'm thinking as I'm talking right now, and I'm like, yeah, if the freeze frame data, if the engine temperature in the freeze frame data was like 40%, 40 degrees or 50 degrees, I was going to say, yeah, intake manifold.
Right.
Because it said while the engine was cold, but it said while the engine was hot.
Yeah.
So could it be a failing pump? Yes, but I can't prove it right now.
Right, okay. And why at that particular moment in time do you think the pump would somehow be deficient in its ability to deliver fuel?
Okay, I've seen fuel pumps fail where, they would be supplying enough fuel volume and fuel pressure to the rail, and then sometimes just like momentarily it drops and then goes back up.
Oh.
So if it drops for a little bit, the engine computer is going to see that and flag a code.
And that's kind of the action that happened every time one of these faults occurs. It was I came to a stoplight almost every single time.
Yeah.
Stopped, and then the idle, which normally should be 700, it started wavering, plus or minus 500 to 1,000, and it was just, and the engine was like
kind of running sluggishly a little.
Slug and almost not a misfire. There was no sound of a misfire, but it was just rough. And then. I'd accelerate, and by the time I hit the next stoplight, all of a sudden it would be stabilized. I mean, no more than a few miles down the road.
Yeah.
And then I, went back and, like I told you, I reset the code.
Yeah. And you cleaned the mass airflow sensor,
I cleaned the mass airflow sensor. That was like the first inexpensive thing to quickly check.
Okay.
And do it. I didn't use the mass airflow sensor thing. I got an alcohol swab in there, which may have been the right chemical to use, but
yeah.
Oh well.
No, based on the fuel trim numbers that we have, I don't think we have a mass airflow
I'll
sensor
let you put that back
issue.
together.
Yeah, so I don't know, because we can either, at this point, we can either change the pump or give it back to you, drive it. Right. Hopefully it get worse. Hopefully you don't get stranded on the side of the road.
Yeah, that's always the rub,
yeah.
With a fuel pump, it's like that could happen.
Yeah, that could happen. Yeah, it could just give up,
We're 260,000 miles.
Yeah. Have you ever replaced the pump?
I've never replaced the fuel pump, and I've never had the intake manifold gasket replaced.
Okay. How about, I can price you a fuel pump just so you can have an idea.
Yeah, that would be
great. Let's price out a fuel pump, and then, like I said, I always like to be 100% sure, but just based on the data and, like right now it's not acting up, it's fine, so.
But I'm also, I will say, conservative in that I don't want to be stranded on the road.
Yes.
And I do want to still keep this vehicle going for a while. So, intake manifold, obviously, that probably would have showed you many more
signs, yeah.
Exactly, so which kind of says possibly leaning towards the fuel pump.
Yeah,
if I had to tip the scale a little bit.
Yeah, because now that I'm thinking about, the data we have, the freeze frame, and the symptom that you're telling me right now, I'm starting to lean more towards a fuel pump because, an intake manifold gasket that's contracting and expanding, you said you spray some brake clean
Yeah.
around it, carb clean
cleaner.
to
Yeah,
see
that
if
was
you had a
based
leak.
on the one guy I see online. The
Online.
funny guy.
The
I won't say his name.
Okay. You know, so-
I'm sure viewers will know who I'm talking
okay.
about.
Yeah. So okay, let's leave that for now.
Okay.
If you can go ahead and start the engine for us, please. Let me bring up. I mean, we did this already, but I'm just gonna show you, and then we'll price out a pump because I don't see what else that
Yeah,
would
no,
cause this.
You want me to keep filming this?
Yeah.
Trying to think if there's anything else relevant to tell you. I think I pretty much told you.
Start up
everything.
now?
Yeah. Start it. Yeah. So it's running. Here's your fuel pressure.
Oh.
Okay.
Great.
So fuel pressure, and then here are your
I don't know
fuel.
if the camera saw the fuel pressure.
Yeah. We saw that earlier.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So our fuel. So we are in closed loop.
Is this picking this up right now as
Yes.
the engine's running?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's picking it. There's
USB
like a dongle there.
Wi-Fi or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's wireless. So here are your fuel trim numbers. So all together, we're definitely
Oh my
within
God,
that plus
look-
or minus
look at that.
10%.
Oh my God, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so and then our engine temperature, so 140, it's slightly cold, but you know, so our numbers based on what we have here, everything is fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So go ahead, turn it off. Yeah. So
The only other thing I had mentioned to you too that happened during this as part of the whole dental diagnostic was there were several times during the winter where I changed my regular service station I went to get gas, and I was like, oh, did I get any water in the fuel tank? And as I told Dio, I normally keep my tank, you know, especially in the winter, like above a half. Summertime, I maybe let it go down to a quarter, but that's it. I did put in dry gas in there a couple times to try and take any moisture out of it. And
That's good.
I kind of saw a slight difference just in normal operation, but the idle was still good except for those occasional times when and it was. I mean, we had a lot of cold weather in January.
In
and
January,
February
yeah,
and
it's been
stuff.
very
And
cold,
You would
yeah.
think that if I had this problem on a daily basis of this code going off, like let's say I had one happen in early January, many cold days, engine ran fine, and all of a sudden code comes on, I dry gas it, I reset the code, it doesn't happen again for another 4 weeks. If
Yeah.
it was intake manifold and cold
well,
weather,
it would happen
probably
more
would have
often. Yeah,
happened
more consistently. Yeah.
Which again,
That's a
I'm
good
trying
point,
To think
yeah.
through the problem, and it's like that might again say intermittent fuel.
Yeah,
pump.
wow, good thinking, Peter. Yeah, there you go. Maybe you should, hey, you looking for a part-time job? You want to come diagnose vehicles here at the shop? Yeah.
No, I'm just trying to give you more of the background story.
Yes, no, I like that. Yeah, that's
relevant to, you know, like
that's-
it's like you tell the doctor, it's like, oh, I'm having this pain here.
Yeah, that's valuable information right there.
Yeah.
So I guess what we're gonna do is, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna price out a pump.
Okay.
And then let's see, cause yeah, guys, I wish I had, you know, concrete evidence to condemn the pump, but based on the symptoms and all the info Peter is giving me and the freeze frame, yeah, we're gonna lean towards the pump. The pump is probably failing intermittently. Peter, thank you
My pleasure, Dio.
for accepting to be on camera and do this.
is great.
Yes, and yeah, so guys, I'm gonna leave this right over here. There might be part 2 when we install the pump. We're gonna get Peter the estimate. Once Peter approves our estimate, and hopefully the part is here. How long did you have to drive to get here?
45 minutes.
45 minutes? Okay, that's not too bad. Then thank you though, once again.
Oh, of
Thanks
course,
for driving out here. And yeah, so I'll get the estimate ready and then I'll bring you guys back up. A couple of hours later, our customer approved the fuel pump replacement estimate. So we got the job. We're gonna replace the fuel pump, and then we're also gonna replace the brake drums and the brake shoes because they were worn out. So here is our brand new fuel pump. It's a Delphi pump. Here's the part number. So I have a video about this. There's a video that I made, I believe 6 months ago on a Toyota Corolla. It's basically the same process. Here is the brand new pump. Okay, we already got the old pump out. Actually, Robin removed it for us. So you have to remove the bottom part of the rear back seat. So here's the old pump. As you can see, it looks old. So this is the old one, and this is the new one that we're gonna install. So Robin is gonna do his magic. He's gonna install this new one in this hole over here. As you can see, we have enough fuel in the tank. Okay, so we're gonna get the new pump installed. Once the new pump is installed, I will bring you guys back up so we can start the engine. And at that point, we're going to wrap up this video. So hopefully this will fix the issue. I believe it will. We'll see what happens. So I'll bring you guys back up once we replace the pump. Robin is done installing the new fuel pump in this Corolla. So I'm gonna go ahead and start the engine. After we start the engine, we're gonna wrap up this video. We will give the vehicle back to the customer. I'm sure it's gonna be good. If it ever comes back, maybe we will do a follow-up video. I don't think it will come back, but you know, since we didn't have a, we didn't really see something wrong, but you know, at that point, I mean, what do you think it could have been? It's a fuel pump. So I'm gonna start the engine. So right there, as you can hear, the engine is running. The engine sounds good, actually. I'm gonna rev it up a little bit. All right, so that's it. I'm going to clear the code. That will take care of the check engine light. And I don't want to show you I don't need to show you the fuel trim numbers. I'm sure our fuel trim numbers are good. They were good before. So I'm going to leave this right over here. I hope you liked the video. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumb down. But if you do, tell us why so we can make better videos in the future. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have any comments, questions, criticism, leave them in the comment box. Cameraman Kyler, thanks for being here. Robin,
Yes, sir.
good job, buddy.
Thank you, man.
Awesome. So, see you guys next time.